Live. Good morning.
Morning.
On this fine Friday morning on July 26th. I can't believe it. You're up.
All right. We're really looking at two big things. One is next Friday we have a staff kind of professional day, team building day, which is kind of an annual occurrence around here. I'm looking forward to it. If counselors would like to join us, I'm happy to send you the schedule. There'll be a barbecue after some of the professional and team building exercises. But it's also Friday. So I know, Tammy, we talked about potentially moving this meeting to the following week. I just wanted to certify that you're good with that and that the team is good with that, so.
Is everyone good canceling it, doubling up on the warrant for the following week, or we can reschedule for like Thursday at 5 because you guys are closed? I mean, you closed late, so.
As long as you guys are good with it, I think
Whatever you wanna do,
I think the
it's fine
reschedule to
either.
the,
Just do it the week after?
Yeah.
That's fine, yeah.
and that's the big one that we'll have more of a rundown of finances for. So maybe it might be good for us to have another week to really plan for that, of the previous month's finances, so.
My only question to that is, and I'm great with it, but will that put us in the rears of paying anybody? Are we making anybody something?
So currently, right now, we are putting in invoices as soon as we get them. We're not holding them, we're not going, okay, this is due in 2 weeks, let's pay it next week. As soon as we get the invoice in, we're paying them. So we're not holding invoices currently, we're in a good position where we could just pay our invoices as they come in. So I don't think we have anything pressing that needs to go in. If we do, we can email you guys and let you know, hey, we need to put this in, we need to have a small warrant if we can swing in and just sign the warrant.
Yeah, I'm right next door, so I
We
can
can do it
certainly
that
do
way.
that. And
It's easy.
payroll is
Yeah.
covered under the charter stating
Yes.
that even if you don't have a warrant, you still are obligated to pay the payroll,
Yes.
Great.
so.
Great, then we'll look forward to 2 weeks from now, that big Friday meeting with the analysis, cash flow analysis, plus analysis of where we're at in the budget by department, and give you kind of a holistic perspective on month one in the FY25. I think that'll be a great meeting to have you all in on as well. I know you've been a part of some of those previous meetings to get some feedback there as well. The second piece.
So can I, one, please do send out an invite, or at least the itinerary for you guys next Friday.
Okay.
So maybe to the whole council, and then, two, likewise, maybe for that first, kind of big rundown on the financials in 2 weeks, let the whole council know that's happening in case anyone
That's a
also
great
wants to
idea.
join.
Yep.
Yep. Maybe I'll do something on the web too, just to make sure it's a little more.
Yeah, I think that's
Hey,
great.
If you want to attend a finance meeting and get a little more of a detailed look at the city's finances and where we're at, this is the one to go. It's going to
Yeah.
be a little more
Yep.
of a robust meeting.
Sounds great.
We'll have to think of a good name for that monthly meeting.
Yeah.
Super finance.
The second piece, and Nate and I have had some great weekly meetings. I think he'll let you talk a bit about the reconciling piece, but we are looking to beef up our grants management, consolidation across the board, on how we chase grants, on how we manage grants, on how they match to comp plan and strategic agenda items for infrastructure, for economic development. Where we're kind of just on hold. In some ways, though, we're just going to really let the team work on the reconcile. It's such an important thing for the city. It's been a while, so that's kind of coming next. But Nate and I had a long conversation this week, and it's just, we're kind of full tilt on the reconcile and the audit, and we want to solve that first, and then we're going to expand to some other areas. So that's it for me.
Holy smokes.
Quick meeting. This week, obviously, our focus, as it's been in the last few weeks, is obviously completing that 23 audit. That's the number one focus of the whole team. I've had Ashley working with me on the reconciliations piece. We are actually just about done. I'm going to send a final email out to the auditors today, saying that we found everything that we could find, which is honestly probably about 97% of the stuff that they've asked for. And like I said, that's according to the auditor and the team, they should be presenting us with the finished audit. I hate to use a deadline, but they said hopefully next week, so we'll see. I'm actually out starting Wednesday next week, so I'll keep you guys posted if I hear anything. But like I said, we've been working hard on that, getting that accomplished. Some other things we've been working on, the High Street pump station, getting some grants for that. I worked with Mike Harris on paperwork for the grants and working on getting those submitted to grants.gov. Once I got there, I found out that the previous finance director is actually what do they call it, the entity administrator. So I'm working with them. I actually called them yesterday, have filled all the paperwork out. So once I get that completed, I can get all those grant paperwork in for that to help supplement for that project, which is obviously about to start here soon. But that's kind of been our goal this week, focusing on, obviously, the 2 weeks from now, presenting you guys with the monthly outlook on where each department looks and how that's going, working with paychecks. We have all the import stuff. There's just a few things that are off. That's actually what I was working on yesterday afternoon, was just making sure that everything is accounted for correctly. Working with paychecks to make sure that import, when it does come in, I don't want to do a mass import and then have to do a bunch of journal entries. So just confirming that everything is correct. So that way when we do present those monthly financials, that everything is accurate, obviously. I don't want any department to look bad or worse than they should if it's not correctly accounted for. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, we're excited. We got obviously a finance manager coming in here in a couple weeks. So we're looking forward to just the addition of that. And I think we'll obviously start working on 24. And I think with the team we have, I think that shouldn't take long at all. And that way we can get ourselves in the present time and not be working 2 years back. So that's the goal. That's where we're at right now.
So I know that you've been working on different policies and procedures
Mhm.
and trying to put some things into place. Can you tell us just some of the things that you've kind of changed?
Yeah. First of all, I shouldn't say I've done a lot as far as, because my focus has been on reconciliations, but I know, working with Ashley and the team is trying to figure out, okay, what has worked and what hasn't worked in the past. Obviously, when it comes to the weekly warrant, let's figure out timeframes on, okay, this is when invoices have to be submitted to the finance department. This is when they have to be approved by. I feel like that's worked out very well. It holds us up when we're waiting hours on end for approvals to come in. I think the department heads have taken that very well, and it's worked out very well in the past. As long as the city manager is not in meetings all day.
You're the biggest offender.
Yes, I am the biggest.
Sorry, I had to throw him on the bus. No, but the department heads have been great, and next, obviously, I talked about last meeting. Working with credit card companies. It looks like we're probably going to use the first once they make me the authorized manager, whatever they want to call it. Obviously, we need to get points. We use credit cards. We got to get points, cash back. That's only going to help us. But then as far as other policies, like I said, we haven't necessarily shored up any other policies and procedures. I think that's one thing I'd love to work with Ashley here once we do catch up the reconciliations and finish this 23 audit, is figuring out, okay, what can we be better at? What can we do to help, the other departments be successful as well as ourselves? So that's,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's kind of where, I'd like to see the next couple weeks, take place, as far as like, okay, now we got to this part. Let's figure out what we can do to be successful for the next 6-12 months. So that's the goal.
Yeah, and we're definitely we're iterating a bit. I think yesterday with me in meetings all day, the kind of previous policy on, we've really worked with the department heads on how they do their invoicing and purchase orders, when they need to be in by, what works for them, what are the steps that are kind of making sure that we're up to date and aware of like the big ticket items. But then there's things like, and then on Thursdays at noon, I need to sit down, get my computer out, hang out with Ashley and Deb, and we go through piece by piece by piece. Yesterday, I was just scheduled fully through, so we're changing the policy there, and we're gonna have a blocked off period of time that can't be booked over. But fortunately, we also have backup with Matt. As it's been the nice thing about having him being interim city manager and as a backup on these approvals, so that he kind of stepped in yesterday to do that for me, which was nice. But getting a little more dialed in there, and then I know sort of directionally on the audit and reconciliation, once that handoff happens with the 24 FY and Nate and team are really going to kind of put together a plan for how to get it through. And then we'll have Zach coming in. I think we have a big portfolio of things for Zach to work on, but it's, in some ways it's just going to be another set of hands that's just laser focused on reconciliation and the audit. And then bringing that to Sue Lassard. I think we have a meeting scheduled her in August 15th or 16th, the Bucksport town manager, who's the grand poobah of the close is not good enough in accounting. She's done it in a bunch of other places, and we're going to present our plan for sort of getting up-to-date finalization of reconciliation. I think even in the meeting we had last week, there was a bunch of areas where she talked about, various policies and procedures to make sure you just stay, perfect on your reconcile and how you handle cash management. So hoping that she'll see our plan and just you grace it and go forward. Or, she might have some big critiques and ways we need to change things and how we attack this work to get reconciled. So we'll definitely report back on that as well.
The department heads have been great, though, as far as working with us. I mean, I feel like if I were an outside department and looking at the finance for the last few years, I'd be like, what do you guys have to tell me? But they've been great. Every single department's worked well with us. And, I know we met with Sarah, I think it was last week or early this week, about just some deposit stuff. Nothing major, but.
I have a meeting with her on Tuesday of next week to wrap it up.
But she's been great in just ways that we feel like would be easier to reconcile, and she's all for it. And like I said, it's just great to have team members that are like, yeah, let's do this, let's work together. So
It's even smaller things, which I think it's been interesting how the reconcile sort of defines your policies and procedures when you see it done badly and it's difficult to reconcile. It's like, okay, we can't. And Nate was in my office this week talking about the credit cards. We have credit cards, I think, by department, and they sort of pay them off together. They have been, which is fine, but it's, it makes it difficult in the reconcile, as you're saying, to kind of rematch it up. So changing that policy to, pay them off on the individual piece, and that way that ties out to that department, and you can see all the expenditures there. So I thought that one made a lot of sense. But there's like hundreds of that type of, hey, this is the way it was done. Is it the best way? No, let's change it and dial it in. But and I know you created a lot of these policies and procedures, Tammy, so it might be worth a conversation with you as well
Yeah, sure.
on some of those pieces.
You can certainly have. Then there should be tons of procedures and policies that are in my old files.
I actually
as well.
I was actually reading one yesterday.
Okay.
And like I said, it's all good stuff. Some of the stuff I just feel like has either not been taking place since you left, or just we need to just reiterate it.
It needs to be updated. 'cause
Yeah.
the process has changed. and
Yeah, exactly,
stuff, so,
yeah. But I definitely was actually going through the folder yesterday and just
Okay.
reading some stuff, so. I sneak in your files every now and then. Just to,
Okay, that's good. That's good. 20 years worth
Yeah.
of documents. I'm sure there's quite a few.
Procurement's the other area of I think might be needing some review.
that's what I was reading, actually, procurement policy, yeah.
I've been with the infrastructure stuff. We've been doing a lot on that piece. There's a lot of money that flows through those areas. There's some big vendors. We try and stick within the procurement policy, but there's some times where it does make sense to single source on a contract, for other things. And we've talked
And
about.
that should be addressed in that procurement policy as well, I believe, for single sourcing.
Yeah, the one I was reading was actually done early 2023, so I don't know.
Oh, no, that wasn't
Yeah.
mine, so. That would have been Ann. I remember, I did hear that she
Okay.
did do one, but it wasn't presented to
Yeah.
council. So.
And
Yeah,
she
and-
made another one too.
She did, okay.
Yeah, when I was here, she redid one. So.
Okay.
And some of those, and I think maybe I'll bring it to a future finance meeting, there's the can you and should you, right? Like, hey, this is allowable, it's in here, but, should we do this? And let's talk to council and bring it to the meeting. We have one that we're looking into, and just, is this the best way to source, but it's really complicated. There's one vendor that has a library of like water and wastewater inventory across Maine that it's really helpful to access, and we get points for the contract, and, it's ease of use and other things. But if it goes over a certain threshold and it's a bigger purchase, should we break with that and look for a better deal, even if it's out of state or something like that? So I might come to you all with some, looking for some advice on that piece.
That's all I got.
All right, look at that. Council have any?
No, I think it's great work, keep it up, and, yeah, but please do let us know, especially about when you're barbecuing on Friday.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think having that big meeting in 2 weeks, if we can get as many counselors here as possible to get feedback and also keep everyone in the loop, we can get broadcasted to the public, and that'd be great.
Sure.
I'd just like to say again, too, that really, it's only been 3 months, May, June, and July, that this has been tackled. And
Mm.
it appears like there's been 9 months' work done in 3.
They probably feel like it's.
Yeah, I'm sure, but hopefully, let's say in another 3 months, maybe it could make a comfortable work schedule for the finance
Oh, yeah.
department and feel like you're on top of it instead of underwater. It's only 3 months into this process. So
No, I feel
it's
like,
pretty
yeah.
impressive.
That's exactly how I feel too.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to, I know Nate, he's just like, I want to be reconciled. You just see it, just like, we're going to give space to that. Like, we have to focus, because if we start chasing other things, it's just such a critical piece. But I'm also really looking forward to the next piece. I know in the organizations I've been in where the finance departments are extremely well run, like you become really like a policy arm of government, and you can really look to cost centers of the organization and do policy analysis of like, here's what it costs, is that in line with other cities in town, is it the best use of our funds, are there creative and interesting ways? And then there's a lot of power to that too. I know in state government, in Massachusetts, the administration and finance, they ran the show. If you wanted to do anything, you came through them, and they could also make your dreams come true, and they could also be hey, this is not going to be financially viable for the state, and I think for the city, and here's why. And and I think when you're chasing each piece and you're behind on things and you're reconciling, you can't get to that like policy level of a finance department. So I'm really looking forward with this team to do
The one
that.
good thing I think about all this reconciliation too is you're getting a bigger picture of everything that's going on,
Oh.
which
Yeah.
I think being the finance director, you know a little bit about everything going on in the city because everything has to flow through finance. So this
Yeah.
kind of is a good way to dive in and learn all things. So.
Yeah, that's kind of what, when Ashley, first took her that position was, I love to like, once we have the time, start going to all these different meetings with different departments and understanding what's going on, and so we can, it's not catching us off guard, and
Yep.
when it comes to grants and all that stuff, the first couple months I felt like I was just buried and just trying to catch up, but now it's like, yeah, you learn a lot, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can also tell with some, like, now that the team's running better, we had requests from the library. It's like, hey, can you send the finance department in here and just make sure everything's dialed in and how we do, the receipting and this and that. I know you've already worked with them on some ways on how they do receipting and when they bring it in, but much more of like a deep dive. And I think across the board in our systems, like we use Trio for some things, there's Cassell for some things, there's this and that. And it's sort of patched together, and that may be the best solution for how we do a lot of these things, but maybe it's not. Maybe we need to, is there a different solution we could pursue that would be easier to reconcile, that would be easier to track, that would give us better data and better, confidence in our numbers. So looking forward to that too.
Anybody from the public?
I came mainly to see, and you addressed a couple of the things, because I hadn't heard, the last thing I heard anything about the audit was at some meetings back in April, and it was gonna have it May 31st. And then I haven't been to many of your meetings, but I try to watch them, and most of your budget, your finance committee meetings have been rather short, so it hasn't been a big job watching, but I haven't heard anything about audit at any of them, at any of your other meetings, ever since those meetings in April when you were talking May 31st. So I'm glad to hear that, I'll believe this Wednesday or next Wednesday when you get it, but at least it sounds good. The next thing, I will wait and be very happy to see when your monthly report for July comes out in 2 weeks. And I think that you should have something available at this meeting
Yep.
for people like the public that shows up on paper. And it doesn't have to be the whole big book or everything, which I hope you people will be getting,
Yep.
showing every account, which is what, long ago, from 84 to 92, when everything was done without the use of computers, we got a monthly report with showing where we were. And it sounds like you haven't had those for 2 or 3 years, or I don't know, maybe even, or did you get them when you were on?
Yeah.
Maybe not near the end, but.
No, the last 2 years, we didn't.
Okay, so I'm good to see that, and I'd like to see that. I did have one other question. Have you had to draw down any of the TAN yet?
Not yet, no.
Do you anticipate doing it?
I do anticipate probably in the next, probably 4 weeks, possibly having a drawdown,
Okay,
but
okay. Now, this is one thing which really isn't for you people, but I think since there are 3 counselors here and the manager is here, Monday, the 15th, I received my water bill, and that was the day of your meeting, with the notice that effective October 1st, there's going to be this 1.5% rate increase. And the paper talked about, that's because of the budget that was approved on the 26th. You were increasing revenues by, I guess, 1.5%. And I went and looked at the appropriate statute, and I think, from looking at the statute is not a well-written statute, because it doesn't say anything about needing a formal vote from the governing authority of the water district or the water department. I basically think you should, at the August meeting, schedule an agenda item to officially approve this 1.5% rate increase, because you didn't do it. This notice that we got sounds like that either Reggie or someone on high, and I don't know whether you've had a chance to talk with your public utilities attorney about it or not, but I think there has to be a formal vote. This statute is an abomination because it does not provide for any public hearing required, and it really doesn't actually say in it that there needs to be a vote of the governing body, but I think there has to be.
It does, it has to go through the PUC. If it's water, it's because it's regulated under the PUC.
Well, this is a thing that was passed in 23 in the legislature, expedited rate adjustments. And basically, it says you have to give notice to the PUC, the public advocate, and to your ratepayers. But also in here, there's a section that references that you don't have to give the notice to PUC or the public advocate. You meet a couple other of exceptions that are mentioned here by statutory reference, and I haven't gone to take the time to try and figure those things out.
I'm happy to report back at the next finance meeting on that piece. I've got a little familiarity with this because of we're doing the water treatment plant. I was actually out there earlier this week on the replacement there. Mentioned last meeting, we got the additional $1 million for that. I thought we did discuss this at a meeting on the 1.5% rate hike. Again, I'll touch base with Reggie and Mike, and it's within the PUC, their guidelines for it. I think in a lot of ways, the reasoning for that was, look, this piece is gonna be on the ratepayers. The water, I think it's the, whatever that,
Enterprise account?
yep,
Enterprise account?
the enterprise account, right. So there's, we're trying to stagger the increase, kind of like we talked about with our tax rate. You don't want to go, well, it's a 0.5% tax increase this year, and then it's a 20% tax increase on property. You really want to have it be this. And when you look at the financing of those pieces, there's going to be, we don't want to have a balloon to the extent possible. And I think it's the PUC allows for that 1.5% as kind of the limit threshold that you don't. But again,
But I still think that basically, there still has to be a formal vote specifically authorizing a rate increase, not just adopting the budget that has this in it, which is what this notice that was sent out sounds like Reggie or some other people may be thinking is all that needs to be done.
Yeah, I'll touch base with Reggie and Mike and get back to you on that piece. Yep.
Could I just ask you another question, Mr. Williams? Do you see any harm in us doing it, whether it's required or not? What harm would it be if we did it? Had a formal vote?
Nothing.
Nothing,
Right.
yeah. no.
So what-
We always voted in session on water increases.
So,
Never had to on sewer, but PUC requires it
so
on water.
I guess my question is this. Instead of digging up all of the earth on this, what harm
Just
would
do
it be to just do it?
Yeah. I can put it,
If there's no repercussion and we can't get in trouble with it, then why dig up the whole earth over it? Let's just get it done.
I'm good with that.
And we do have to do wastewater. I mean, I always remember bringing it to, because it's not fair to the public if we don't tell them and just increase the rate, so. And I think the rates might be in the ordinance too,
Okay.
somewhere.
Yeah, we'll circle back up on it. If it wasn't done by the book, we'll let you know. We'll make sure that it does get done. But to your point, Steve, either way,
What harm?
Yeah.
what harm do we have a little more discussion on it and have a
Yeah.
vote on it? It's an easy one and it's good for the public.
It could save us a lot of aggravation of digging and thrashing and banging, just to,
Yeah, we'll get an accounting here because I think it's already happened, right? I mean, it's already been, so it's kind of a vote on.
Well, the notice says it isn't gonna take effect till October 1st.
Okay.
So you have plenty of time, and the statute, if you vote, and I think you need to take a formal vote, the council does, vote to do it at the August meeting, you're still, as I read the statute, you're still within, but you should consult with whoever does your PUC work, if you have anyone. So, I don't know if that's Rudman Winchell or whether you have someone else, so.
PUC report, I think, comes through finance in our auditor accounting,
Yeah.
right?
You can also contact PUC as well, just to make sure that we
Yeah.
have some really good information out there.
they've
If
got
this has
good
been a
stuff.
change since 2023, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for bringing that to
Yeah,
our
thank you.
attention.
yeah.
Great.
Okay,